that human piece. So hopefully some useful practical examples. So for infrastructure intelligence gathering, when I do pen tests, I'd like to know as much about the target networks and net blocks of an organization as possible. We typically get told, hey, this is company X, I have to find everything that company X owns publicly. So I'd like to know if that company has presence in other companies by checking other top-level domains, and then I want to build that infrastructure diagram that we had that I showed earlier. So this is kind of some screenshots of using Maltego to do that. So I picked a company, Telrad.com, which does voice over IP solutions. No real reason. Came across them doing some other stuff. So first thing we wanted to do is we want to identify other net blocks. So we can see that on your right, their web server is in one net block, and all their mail and FTP is in another net block. So that starts to tell us that, hey, probably hosting web in a colo, probably handling our own mail and FTP. So it's also important, if we know they're in a colo, is it in scope to go after the whole VPS? Can I attack one of the other sites that are on that host to get to them? Some other things that are usually not in scope, but be nice if they were more. So using Maltego, we can span out to other top-level domains. So we say, hey, right-click, search for other top-level domains. Hopefully you guys can see that. So we can see that we had info, biz, CA, EU, co-UK. All that may be in scope for our pen test, and for sure our client wants to know that we can actually find that information like a real bad guy could. If the London office is the weak link, I'm going to go after the London office because I probably have a trust relationship with the US office, which has the data that I want. You can use it to brute force DNS names. You can basically throw dictionary attack and Maltego at that, and we'll start to look for common DNS names. We can turn those into net blocks, and then once you have other net blocks, you can say, hey, for every class C, I want to know, do the reverse lookups and show me everything that's in those class Cs. So, and also, like I was just talking about with Maltego Mesh, as you're browsing a site, you can say, oh, here's the telrad.com site, but also on that site is, I don't know if I can read it, telrad.com, cogni.com, which is somebody that bought those guys out, and then telradcogni.com. So also those IPs and those net blocks may also be in scope as the company has expanded out over the years. So tools to get it done. Maltego is my favorite. You can use some of the online tools like ServerSniff, RobTex, Kles.net, all those. And the cool thing about most of those is most of those websites, all the websites that do that traffic, they are the ones sending traffic to that site, not your organization's IP address, right? So I don't want them to know that, whatever company that Attack Research is footprinting these guys. I'll let Kles.net do the damage, I'll let ServerSniff do all that stuff, and then when they go to look in the logs, it's coming from ServerSniff, and everyone in the world is using those guys, so it's going to be hard to attribute any open source information gathering back to me. And some other tools, rsnake, sphere.pl is a good place to grab a host list for Maltego. So people in an organization, flying. So to create effective and deliver effective client-side attacks, we need to develop a great company profile and personnel profile. So we want to prepare, well, I'll let you read it. You can prepare for social engineering engagements. We want to gather all that information. Things I want to ask myself as I'm doing the OSINT part of the pen test. Can I identify key personnel? Some places will just slap them on the website and you know everybody. That's always awesome. Then sometimes they don't. You have to really start digging to find out who are the partners, who are the people that actually own the company, who are the people really running stuff, who's the head of IT, who's the CTO, who's the CIO. Can I develop an understanding of the corporate culture before I go after that? So if I'm going to go into an organization, if I'm going to do it Chris Nickerson style and throw on my shirt and walk in there, I need to understand the corporate culture. I can't do that if I don't do any research. You can't just show up and just walk in and be like, and fit in. So we need to find all that if it exists. So within that, one of the first parts of a client-side social or client-side pen test, harvesting emails. I want to know what kind of emails can I gather off the net And that's important for the company to know as what kind of internet footprint they have for that and what information has been placed out there. So if I can pull 1,000 emails down from Google sorry, it's a long day. If I can pull 1,000 emails down from Google, it's important to know that because that's going to be the people that are going to be getting the initial fish too. Hopefully that made sense. So a cool tool for doing that is the Harvester. It's also by Christian of Edge Security. You can see there it's doing, it searches like PGP for PGP keys and the email addresses associated with that. It does Google. It does account names for LinkedIn. So we can see that we found a whole bunch of LinkedIn accounts for people that say they work for Telrad. And we can do the same thing in Maltego. Once we have a domain specified, we can do like a search for email addresses and pull those in. Does that seem useful? That I don't have to use Google Dorks and anything? I can just use an automated tool to pull that stuff out. All right, I got one guy shaking his head, so I got one guy awake. It's cool. And so also, we found those other top-level domains. We can also search those for emails. That was also handy. So now I have emails for people on .NET. I got emails for people in .co.uk. I got people for emails in the States. Again, maybe they're all sharing the same corporate LAN once you get authenticated. That's important stuff to use. and within Maltego, all those emails can be turned into users. So we've got Alet Lavaro in the middle there. She's got a LinkedIn profile that Maltego was able to find for us, who was also able to turn it to a person. And from a person, we can start searching for phone numbers and documents and everything else. So Rebecca Ratchame was all over the place, who used to work for Telrad. So she's got her Flickr account, so we can go check out and see what she's sharing. And LinkedIn, maybe we can go be her new friend. Like I said, so once we have these emails and we have these LinkedIn associations, now's the time to start saying, oh, I'm into voice over IP stuff. Why don't you and I link up? We can start collaborating and doing things. And you can see we found like 376 LinkedIn accounts when I ran that. So obviously I couldn't put them all on there. So 376 possible leads to people to be new friends with prior to my engagement. So tools to get that done: Maltego, the Harvester, Passive Recon. Harvester kind of runs into some issues sometimes that Google will keep changing their regex, and then all of a sudden stuff doesn't work. So Maltego is pretty good. Metadata. Anybody done any research with document metadata? All right, a couple people. Great. So useful extensions that I've found in the past. That's not a complete list, but some are useful. Maltego, again, does this for us. So we have a domain. We say, hey, search for documents on the web for us. So we found a whole bunch of documents. Now, by default, it doesn't use Google, but you could probably change it to Google, and it would probably work. And then you can also use MetaGoofil, which will also do the same thing. It goes and searches Google for various file types, PowerPoints, documents, Excel, the OpenOffice equivalents, downloads all those, and does some analysis on those documents to try to pull metadata out of those. So, Foca is another thing. Anybody heard of Foca? Just released a new version of that. It's pretty handy. So that's kind of what it looks like. Some of the documents, the information you can get out of that. So you can get where it was saved to, the username of the person that did it, when it was downloaded, when it was saved, what version of Acrobat used that. So this isn't a perfect example because it was from 2007. But if you could find one from 2009 and you know they're using Adobe Acrobat 9, hey, that's useful information to know as I start to think about what kind of client sides I want to throw your way. And what MetaGoofil does with the document metadata starts to discover usernames, so it extracts all that information out of that and gives you possible usernames for the organization. So if I've gone through and discovered that the email naming convention is first name dot last name, I now have a ton of emails that I can create based on knowing that. And this actually worked for me really well. I had a pen test, and we did an organization that global organization, but I was only pen testing one piece of it in the States. So everyone's email address was like @Motorola.com. It wasn't Motorola.